Greetings, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
It's our all-English lecture today, so we're not going to be relying on our Chinese teacher today, which is a pity because usually when I listen to the Chinese teacher, I actually learn some Chinese myself. But we're not going to do that because this program is all for you, and you're going to learn a lot of English today when we talk about sports.And, of course, it's summertime in the year 2016, which means it's the time for the Olympics.
Yeah, but the Olympics have been in the news lately because of the Zika virus, that virus that is spread primarily by mosquitoes, which leads to some birth defects. Anyway, it's going to be exciting to see if any more athletes decline or say they're not going to go. I've already heard of one.
Ooh.
So we'll see. Anyway, the Olympic Games are pretty fun. They're now separated into summer games and winter games, even in different years. So it's kind of interesting that way. But are you a big Olympic fan, Tom?
Well, when I can see them. But it's kind of difficult to see them in Taiwan here. You don't get much live coverage. If you're lucky, you can be in the same time zone when the Olympics are going on. These are taking place in South America. So I'm not sure when they'll be aired locally. They may be on in the middle of the night. So they're going to be difficult to see. But...We'll see what happens here. Welcome to the Olympic Games, and let's talk about all the things that are involved with the Olympics right now. Let's read the entire contents of our lesson one time.
The crowd cheers as the Olympic torch is carried into the huge stadium. It has traveled around the world to get here, and now, in an elaborately choreographed ceremony,It will be used to light the Olympic flame. The spectators fall silent, eager to see what surprises the event's designers have in store, and ready to erupt into applause when the flame is lit. Once this happens, the Olympic Games will be officially underway. The concept of the Olympic flame goes all the way back to the original Games,which were held at Olympia in Greece from 776 BC to 394 AD. The flame itself represented the theft of fire from the Greek gods by Prometheus, who gave it to humans. Those early events were rather different from the Games today. Only Greek-speaking males could compete, and they did so in the nude, while slaves were all excluded.At the very first recorded games, there was only one event, the stade, or foot race. The name came from a unit of measurement, as one stade was equal to about 600 feet. It is also where we get the word stadium. Many other events from the ancient Olympics, such as boxing, wrestling, jumping, and throwing, are still an important part of the Games today.This month, the 2016 Summer Olympic Games take place in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. This is the first time the Games are being held in South America. Other firsts for the 2016 event include the participation of the Refugee Olympic Athletes team, which will represent people who have been forced to leave their homes, particularly Syrians. At the Games, records will be broken,Dreams will be made, and the world will come together to celebrate sporting achievement. Be sure to tune in and be a part of it.
Okay, everybody, let's start talking about today's lesson entirely in English.Now, again, this is our unit on sports, and we're talking about the Olympic Games, which, of course, as you know, take place every 4 years. This year, they're in Rio, assuming they haven't been canceled because of the Zika virus.
Tom, they actually take place every 2 years now, remember?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they do now. They used to take place every year. The Winter Olympics and the Summer Olympics were in the same year, but they changed that a little bit. I don't know when they made the change, but nowadays, every 2 years, you get the Olympics.Alternating between the Summer Olympics and the Winter Olympics. Of course, in 2014, the last Olympics, the Winter Olympics, were in Sochi in Russia. But now they're going to be in Rio again. If they haven't been canceled or postponed, they're taking place in Rio here. Welcome to the Olympic Games. I should also mention here that when we talk about the Olympic Games, if you just use the word Olympic, then you add an S. The Olympics or the Olympic Games. So if you say games, you can't say Olympics Games. You say Olympic Games or the Olympics.
Because when you add the games to it, Olympic turns into an adjective. So you don't want to make it plural. So that's a good distinction there. Welcome to the Olympic Games or welcome to the Olympics. I think they've taken some of the excitement out of the Olympics by having them every 2 years. Because when we had to wait for 4 years, people got so excited. They were such a big treat. So in some ways, I'm kind of sad they've split up the Winter and Summer Olympics. So here we go, guys. Let's look at the first paragraph. We're setting the scene here. The crowd cheers as the Olympic torch is carried into the huge stadium. Now, before the Olympics start, they always have this big torch that is carried for quite a while across countries, and it's usually someone famous who gets to hold the torch. A torch here, it looks like a big piece of wood with fire at the top. So it's some sort of wood or cloth even that's soaked in something that's flammable and can be lit and turns into fire. They carry this torch across many different countries, and it's a very high honor to be asked to carry the torch. And the very last part of the run with the torch, they end up at the place where the Olympics will be held, and they light the official torch that's been built outside the big main stadium.
That's what they do, all right. And, of course, the torch is lit by the fires of Mount Olympus in Greece. And then, as you said, it's carried from there across different countries to the current location of the Olympics. So, my goodness, how the heck are they going to get that torch across the Atlantic Ocean all the way to South America? But they'll figure it out, and the games will go on. And, of course, as you know, the Olympics have a main stadium where all the track and field events are going to take place. So that's a huge stadium. In Taipei here, we've got the arena. An arena is usually enclosed. It's usually indoors. But if it's outdoors, then it's a stadium. And this is a huge stadium. And, of course, the Olympic flame is lit there.
Yes, it is. Now, the stadium, of course, is a really big sports arena, right? And usually a stadium is outdoors. And there are lots of seats, rows of seats, tiers of seats. Kind of exciting, and that's where usually the first opening ceremony is held. So this torch travels everywhere to get there. It's an elaborately choreographed ceremony. They do a lot of work with dancers and also with the athletes to, choreograph it. If you choreograph something, you plan the steps and the movements that people are going to take. So it's really kind of exciting. I like to see the opening ceremony, especially to hear the new music that has been composed for that particular Olympic Games, because it's always new music, so it's fun.
It certainly is. So, yes, that's all part of the opening ceremony, which is elaborately choreographed. Elaborately means with a lot of details. Choreographed means what it's planned with dances and music and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Choreography is kind of the study of that. What exactly is the study of choreography? Just putting on performances and stuff like that?
No, a choreographer is a professional dancer who plans steps and movements. So it looks like people are acting in unison. It looks like it's planned and people aren't just out there doing what they want. They have to do that for the cameras, of course, because it's broadcast around the world. So this torch is used to light the Olympic flame. Now, the next sentence says, the spectators fall silent, eager to see what surprises the event's designers or choreographers have in store. And they're ready to erupt into applause when the flame is lit. If you're a spectator, guys, you're somebody who is watching something that's going on. You're watching a spectacle, you could say. So you're not participating, you're just watching if you're a spectator.
That's exactly right. Spectator, spectacle, they're all related words here. So we're all waiting to see what is in store, what the designers, what the choreographers have in store. That just means what they have ready for us. They have not shown us this. And, of course, we're waiting for this performance to erupt. And then we want to hear the audience erupt into applause. To erupt usually means to explode like a volcano. The volcano erupted, for example. And applause. Yeah, all right, yeah, wonderful. This is fantastic. We love this. Yeah, that's applause. And that's non-countable, so don't add an S to that applause. So there was much applause after the concert, for example. And there's going to be a lot of applause when the flame is lit. And once this happens, the Olympic Games will be officially underway. Underway means it has begun and it's in progress.
Yeah. So it's kind of exciting when all of this happens. So this is the moment when the whole thing kicks off. You could say if something kicks off, it starts. So once the flame is lit and the ceremony has taken place, the Olympic Games will be officially underway. There are no competitions actually held the day of the opening ceremony. It's just usually something that the athletes get dressed up for and they parade around. So you can see all the teams and all the countries, particular athletes. So it's kind of fun. If something gets underway, guys, it gets going. It gets started.
That's right, to get underway, to be in full swing.
Yeah.
And the concept of the Olympic flame goes all the way back to the original games, which were held at Olympia in Greece from 776 BC to 394 AD. Okay, so that's where this concept or this idea comes from, the concept of the Olympic flame. A concept, indeed, as I just said, means an idea. Sometimes it's a larger idea, more of an abstract idea or a general notion. The concept of light travel, for example, or, space travel, the concept, it's quite abstract. Not everybody can imagine what it's all about. So, yeah, the concept of the Olympic flame is really, really long. It goes way back to the original games in 776 BC, or rather from 776 BC to 394 AD. So that's a period of about, 600 years.
Now, notice there are different ways to say these numbers out loud. When you read them, I said 776 BC to 394 AD, 776 BC to 394 AD. Probably the most common is the way we read our room numbers in hotels, too. We'll often do like Tom just did, 776. 394. So kind of get used to that. I'm sorry it's a little tricky because we change things on you guys.
Just don't say 394. That would be kind of weird.
Yeah, it's a little strange. But you can do that for hotel rooms, though, just so you know.
You sure can.
Or flight 394, that's fine.
Yeah, okay.
So the flame, what does it represent? It says here it represented the theft of fire from the Greek gods by Prometheus. If you study Greek history, their fables, their legends, you hear about this Prometheus. He stole fire from the Greek gods. Those are just stories they told to explain natural events like the sun rising and things happening in nature that they couldn't explain back then. They didn't know about science. If you are represented by something, it means something stands for something else. For example, a red rose represents love. So this flame represented to them the theft from the Greek gods of fire by Prometheus. So Prometheus snuck in. He was very quiet to take the fire away from Greek gods. Theft here is a noun. It just means the crime. It's a crime. You're breaking the law. You're doing something wrong by stealing. The theft of my bicycle last summer made me really angry.
It would make me angry, too. Yeah, Tyrone Anderson stole my bicycle back in high school, but I let him get away with it because I was getting a new bicycle anyway. Okay. He actually did me a favor, the theft of my bicycle. But in any case here, yes, represents, it stands for the theft of that fire from the gods by Prometheus. He was being a naughty boy, and he gave it to the humans. Yes. Okay, that brings us to about the midway point in today's lesson. Let's take a little bit of a break right now.
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
We shall now resume our lesson. We're welcoming the Olympic Games as long as they're going on as scheduled. That there's that big scare of the Zika virus down there in Brazil. And there's some other problems down there, too. I think their president was impeached or something, or she was fired from her job. I'm not quite sure what happened there. I don't really follow politics that well. But in any case, hopefully the games are going on and there are no problems. But where we left off, we were talking about the Olympic flame, and it represents the theft of fire from the gods to humans, and Prometheus is the guy who did this. So these are some examples of the early events of the early Olympic Games. They took place, around the time of, 776 BC to 394 AD, and we had the Olympic flame, and they took place in Greece and stuff like that. And those early events were rather different from the games today. Okay, so I guess that's kind of the point of our lesson today, to kind of compare and contrast the modern Olympics with the ancient Olympics.
Yeah, so those early events were really very different. For example, here's something that's extremely different. Only Greek-speaking males could compete. So if you weren't able to speak Greek, forget it. You were not allowed to compete. If you compete in something, you're in some sort of competition or contest, and the goal is to win. So you're trying to defeat or be better than somebody else who is competing. So only those who could speak Greek could compete. And notice here, they were only males who could compete. If you were a female and you were really athletic and fast or strong or talented, forget it. You were out of it. You could not compete. And you also, guys, had to compete in any event you were in without clothes on. So you had to do it in the nude. So maybe that's why they didn't have men and women competing together, perhaps. I don't know. They also banned or excluded any of the slaves from competing. Slaves were popular back then in society as well, as they were later on in our history around the world. So people were forced to work for other people for free. They had no freedom. They could not leave. They didn't get paid for it. They were just slaves. So they were excluded. So if they were talented as well, forget it. They could not compete.
Exactly. They were excluded. And, of course, again, we're talking about the male athletes doing it naked, in the nude, not wearing any clothes. So they weren't even allowed to wear a jockstrap. Now, at the very first recorded games, there was only one event called the Stade.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't speak Greek, so I'm not 100% sure that's how that's pronounced, but I guess you looked it up before the program.
Well, yeah, in English today, it's pronounced Stade. I don't know how they pronounced it way back when. But today it is pronounced stayed.
Okay, that's how it's pronounced nowadays, and that was the one event. Or you could just simply call it a foot race, a race where you're using your feet, maybe not walking, but running, of course. It's all allowed. And the name came from a unit of measurement. One stade was equal to about 600 feet. We don't use this anymore. No. 600 feet nowadays would be what, like maybe 400 meters or so? So that sounds like one lap around the track. So that's where the name stadium actually came from this unit of measurement in ancient Greece. One stade was equal to about 600 feet.
Okay, so remember, they were nude, so they had to run without shoes. So forget buying those expensive sneakers to help you run faster. They had no advantage that way. They had to run in their bare feet. So many other events from the ancient Olympics, such as boxing, where you get up and you try to hit somebody until they fall down, right? Wrestling. Wrestling is where two guys try to pin each other to the mat. I had a brother who was a wrestler for a while.
I did wrestling in 7th grade
only.
Oh,
you did? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You have to be stronger than the other guy, but you also have to have techniques, I think, to pin him to the ground. Jumping, of course, the high jump, the long jump, probably, And throwing things, of course. See how strong your biceps, that's the muscle in your arm that you use for throwing, how strong your biceps are. These are all still very important parts of the Olympic Games today.
And the variations thereof. Okay, jumping would be the long jump, the triple jump, the high jump, the pole vault. Those are all types of jumping. Throwing could be the discus, the shot put.
The javelin.
The javelin? The javelin. Yeah, the javelin. I think that's Olivia de Havilland you're thinking
of. I think that's the name of a pig. No, the javelin is a long spear kind of thing, right? That they throw.
Something to throw. And also the hammer throw, which is a large, heavy object at the end of a chain. These are all important parts of the games today, and they're different kinds of wrestling. And now we've got jiu-jitsu and karate and stuff like that.
It seems like they add new sports every year.
They add more, and then they take some away.
Oh, they do?
I don't know if the numbers are the same, though. I think they increase the number year by year.
I hope they don't take any of my favorites away.
They already took your favorite baseball away. Maybe they'll bring it back someday. Who knows?
That's okay.
But moving on now to the next paragraph, it says, this month, the 2016 Summer Olympic Games take place in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, which, of course, is a country in South America. They speak Portuguese down there. And this is the first time the games are being held in South America. Not the first time in Latin America. They were held in Mexico City back in 1968. But South America technically is all the parts of South America south, or of the Americas, south of Panama. So this is the first time they're actually held on the South American continent.
It's a big deal for Brazil, so it's really kind of upsetting, very sad that at the same time Brazil is experiencing some very difficult problems politically with their leader and also medically because they have the Zika virus. And also the Zika virus is the most serious in Brazil of all the countries around the world. So we hope that it works out for everybody. This is the first time, of course, that it's been in South America. So all of the South American countries are kind of proud. Yeah. So other firsts, let's talk about another first here, would be that we have a new team participating that we've never had before. And sadly, it's because the world is in chaos in some of these places where war-torn countries, the athletes aren't able to even represent their own country like Syria. We've got a participation now of the Refugee Olympic Athletes team. So we've got people who have been forced from their countries due to war or persecution, people trying to kill them, having to group together outside their own country and be a team. So a lot of the people on this team, of course, are from the country of Syria. So they are Syrians.
Exactly, particularly Syrians. Probably some other people that are refugees all over the world. Pretty much all the time. And at the games, lots of things are going to be happening here. Records will be broken, dreams will be made, and the world will come together to celebrate sporting achievement. Now, of course, one of the most exciting things to take place at the Olympics is when people break those records. And I'm not talking about vinyl records when people said, no, we're not going to play those dumb black discs anymore. We've got CDs now, or we've got MP3 files that we can download from the internet, and we can even pirate them and we don't have to pay for them. But no, in this case, records are just things that are noted down as an achievement, okay? So if you've had the fastest time in the 100 meters or the decathlon or the pentathlon or the steeplechase or whatever, if you've done it the fastest, if you've jumped the highest, the longest, the farthest, then you have a record. You might have an Olympic record or you might have a world record.
Yeah, we've seen over the years that training has become more of a science. And so they're using a lot of these things that we now know through science to help the athletes perform better. In swimming, they've come up with new swimsuits that actually increase the speed of the swimmers in the water.
Yeah, didn't they used to wear those shark suits and now they're illegal or something? Yeah. They have to just wear regular swimsuits
Some of the suits they've had to ban, because it's not fair. They really do increase the speed of the swimmers in the waters. It's very, very fun. I want to ask you, Tom, what's your favorite summer event in the Olympics?
Oh, gee, I forgot. I haven't actually seen the Olympics on TV for a long time. But I guess traditionally speaking, the track and field events are kind of the traditional aspect of the Olympics. The other ones don't seem to count. I can tell you the ones that I think are the dumbest, like, what is it, synchronized swimming.
Oh, I like that one.
And rhythmic gymnastics.
Wait. Synchronized swimming is very difficult because you have to control your breath.
Oh, I'm sure it is, but the problem is you never see that except in the Olympics. Who actually does that in normal times?
But it's
I think they should represent sports that are played by people all over the world.
No, but we see these other sports every day, like baseball and basketball. Who cares?
In a couple of countries.
These are kind of cool. And I especially love synchronized swimming. I think it's amazing. There are some that I think are sort of silly, like in the gymnastics events. They have those girls with the pretty ribbons that jump around.
Or they throw the ball up in the air and they have the hoop or something.
That's a little weird for me.
Yeah, how common is that?
But gymnastics, that event itself is my very favorite.
I could see that, yeah.
Oh, swimming too. I like the swimmers.
True, except you can't really see them,
Diving is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the divers.
Divers, but that's like really short. They just jump off and flip around and
that's
into the
hard,
water.
though, Tom.
I like games that continue for a long time, like soccer or the marathon or something. So.
Oh, you like watching the marathon runners?
Sure. Why not? Who wouldn't? A marathon is a pretty intensive event. It's 26 miles and 385 yards. Yeah, try to run a marathon yourself.
This explains
to me
why you like soccer, which is so boring to me. Okay.
You just don't understand the intricacies of controlling the ball and passing and stuff like that. But actually, Olympic soccer is not particularly exciting.
Oh, they have soccer in the Olympics? I
think they do, but actually most people pay more attention to the World Cup, which actually took place in Brazil 2 years ago. Brazil was humiliated. The Germans creamed them. They smeared their face in their own turf there. That was quite a national embarrassment.
Embarrassing.
Yeah, Brazil was so under pressure to win, and they lost big time. But that's the World Cup. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the Olympics. So again, we're celebrating sporting achievement. Achievement is when you actually achieve something. You accomplish something that yourself or no one else has done before.
Yeah, and when you use that word achievement or the verb to achieve, you've worked for a long time. It's not something that comes easily to anybody. So we're wishing all of the athletes the best of luck. We know they've been training for years and years and years and have given up and sacrificed a lot of fun times with their friends to be world-class athletes. So be sure to tune in. That means to turn on your TV and watch what's going on. We wish them all the best of luck. For now, though, we've got to sign off, and there's no Chinese teacher, so we're just going to say goodbye. Thanks for joining us at English Digest. See you next time.
Bye.